Day of Defeat is kind of an underappreciated Valve title. It has its fair share of fans, and for good reason, but it's kind of brushed to the side, like Ricochet and Condition Zero. I wanted a sequel, especially since Source didn't bring much back from the original, but I've been waiting and waiting since the latter 2000s. Fortunately, the military conflict Vietnam devs are working on an official mod for the game that'll be all about World War II and will bring it closer to the feeling of Day of Defeat. And to top it off, military conflict Vietnam modders got a head start on that.
Skizmo and Fluffy Cotton Candy
Have come together to create a full-blown conversion World War II mod, building off Day of Defeat's source and the work-in-progress World War II mod of MCV.
We need this sector.
It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. It makes creative use of existing assets and brings in a bunch of high-quality new assets in very creative and inventive ways. I don't want to run down what makes this mod so much fun, why I would definitely recommend it. Military conflict Vietnam's already a lot of fun, and this adds a unique spin to it.
I'm out! Reloading! Enemy position knocked out! Einnehmen!
So to start out, the mod kind of speaks for itself with its name. It puts military conflict Vietnam on the western front of World War II, the US Army versus the German Wehrmacht. You'll be going in similar fashion to military conflict Vietnam, so depending on the mode, you'll be capturing points, trying to kill the most enemies, trying to be the last man standing, going on a regular deathmatch, so on and so forth. Conquest is the most common mode available, and it plays a lot like Day of Defeat in that regard, where you're holding territories, fighting off enemies, trying to coordinate with your team or your bots or anything of that sort. The US Army and Wehrmacht have one model each. They don't really have customization aside from glasses, but they're distinct, and they look good, and it makes it easy to recognize them in the heat of battle. The guns are also very unique to each faction. There are some general differences in what they have to offer, but they cover a lot of similar ground overall. So, the US military, a lot of their World War II guns from military conflict Vietnam return, like the Garand, the M1 carbine, the M2 carbine, the Thompson and Grease gun, but some new additions arrive as well, like the suppressed Thompson and a few variants of the M1911 handgun, along with a full-length barrel version of the M10 revolver. The Wehrmacht where things get very interesting, because while there were a handful of German weapons added over time, like the Luger and the Mauser C96 and the MP40, there wasn't a complete German arsenal, so to speak. And this mod adds a lot of guns for the Wehrmacht side, a shocking amount, even more than the US Army. This does include a lot of limited use weapons that only showed up for brief periods of the war, and guns that didn't get fully adopted, but the point is that it adds a lot of variety. And it also ties into historical aspects of the Wehrmacht. The fact that they pressed several different weapons from foreign militaries into their own arsenal shows up here with guns like the MAS 1935 redesignated and added as a sidearm option, or any number of their trials for the Mark B-42, the Walther version, the Mauser version, both of them appear, and they have unique stats and models and icons. They look good, play good, they cover unique aspects of how things play out. And this also includes multiple bolt-action rifles. So in addition to the Kar 98, there's also the Gewehr 1898, the Gewehr 1888/05, and so on. It's pretty surprising. The depth of the arsenal shocked me. I mean, especially when you have the Suomi KP-31, whatever it is, the Finnish submachine gun with the drum magazine, which I guess makes sense since Finland was on the relatively same page as Germany at that point. They both didn't like the Soviets and kind of cooperated. up until the 1945.
Brauche hier Verstärkung! Jawohl! Ich bin raus! Lade nach!
What this means is that for the most part, teams are pretty evenly balanced. There are bolt-action rifles for both sides, semi-autos for both sides, there's a large capacity submachine gun, and surprisingly shotguns as well. The Sjorgen inertial shotgun is the Wehrmacht equivalent, though it isn't semi-auto. It's spaced out enough to have the same fire rate as the Ithaca 37. There's also the Wehrmacht version of the double-barrel shotgun, the Luftwaffe Drilling, though surprisingly there isn't a double-barrel equivalent on the US Army side. As for how this plays, there are a good amount of automatics in play. You would expect a World War II mod to be all about like bolt-action guns, and while you will be finding a lot of enemies and classes using that, there are enough automatics to make it feel similarly to military conflict, though it isn't as advanced. So some of the options you have are going to be a little more limited. For instance, like anything beyond World War II doesn't show up. You won't find the M60, you won't find the M16, the AK, anything of that sort. You also won't find any Soviet guns that I know of. Some guns do return interesting spots, like the Molotov appearing on the Wehrmacht side and the white phosphorus grenade appearing on the US Army side.
Ich brauche hier Verstärkung! Enemy ahead! Handgranate! I'm out! Reloading! Gegner erwischt! Neuladen!
The maps are pretty fun overall. They're straight ports from Day of Defeat, just with the logic necessary to play well. Most of them play well. One is missing textures and doesn't have the best optimization. The other is missing a skybox texture, but otherwise it looks fine. They cover a different variety of theaters in France, in Italy, more, again, Western Front maps. And they are balanced well, even with the different weapon lineup. The 6 classes of military conflict Vietnam handle surprisingly well in this environment. To top it off, they also have fresh new voice lines for both factions.
Taking fire! Take cover! Take cover!
I expected them to just recycle the US military voices for the US Army side and maybe reuse the Day of Defeat ones for the Wehrmacht side, which is true, but they also went ahead and made a bunch of lines for both sides. So the US Army sounds like their Day of Defeat equivalent, and the remaining lines that weren't covered from that resource were created using AI. Which I'm not opposed to. I mean, I did my fair share of that for Bill and Zoe for that one showcase video a while back. I don't know if anyone ever used them, but I kept them up in case anyone needed them. And as far as I'm concerned, like, this isn't a deal breaker. I wouldn't expect a small-scale mod like this to recruit voice actors to cover it, especially considering how many lines you'd need to make. And it sounds organic enough. So I'd say that's a plus. The maps play pretty well in the different modes. I noticed some issues with Capture the Flag on some of them. Again, Conquest and Deathmatch and Firefight are the best ones. Capture the Flag plays decently. I don't think any of them have zombies support, but that would be a tough order in of itself. It's a fun mode, a lot of work put into it. I understand that it's still actually in work. they're probably in the process of adding more weapons to it, which shocks me, but I mean, hey, I've seen work being done on Lee Enfield rifles, so maybe there'll be more added to the US Army. That does bring up my main critique, though. It's that, to my shock, the US Army doesn't have as much to offer as the Wehrmacht. I expected there to be a ton more US guns than Wehrmacht guns going into it, but the opposite turned out to be true. The US Army has a pretty good variety, but they're pretty lacking compared to the Wehrmacht. The Wehrmacht has a ton of stuff. It includes the handguns, the snipers. I mean, they have the Karabin, that one Polish semi-auto rifle. They have a bunch of different MGs as well, including that one Czech one. But the US Army is pretty limited. Aside from the SMGs, they have a really good SMG selection. They only have one bolt-action rifle. They only have a few regular rifles. They only have one shotgun. The Wehrmacht have 2 shotguns, and they didn't even like shotguns in the war. I hope that there can be something done about that. It'd be nice if the US Army had more options, but they started to feel a little bland and vanilla by the end. It's not that they're not a fun faction to play, it's just you gave the Wehrmacht so many cool toys that it feels like the best way to play is to sometimes just drop your gun and try to loot one of theirs. But that's nitpicking. In the grand scheme of things, the US Army does have a lot of good options. I'm just kind of spoiled, admittedly, from being able to pick between the Gewehr 41, the Gewehr 43, the Gewehr 43 Kurz, the Volkssturmgewehr, and the Mauser 1930 carbine for semi-autos. I don't know, when you get that much variety, you can't help but be a little spoiled. But, hey, I mean, this is still a fantastic mod, and I love all the work put into it. I love the variety, the historic details, like the designations for foreign weapons on the Wehrmacht side. I like how some of the custom sawed-down versions of guns appear, like how you can use the M2 carbine or the M2 carbine SOG if you're on the Allied side, the US Army side. And I like just how well it plays. If you told me that these maps were made for the mode, I would believe it, but no, they're just from Day of Defeat source. And the mod still plays well with the existing military conflict Vietnam levels. Granted, not all of them fit perfectly. I found that the USNS card one, the ship one, that's probably one of the best atmospheric ones. The other levels would probably play just fine. It'd be a little weird to fight the Wehrmacht in a tropical setting, but I don't know. I mean, if you got Argentina jokes, I'm sure they could apply somewhere in there.
Enemy ahead! Enemy position knocked out! Way to go, team!
But it's still worth playing. I would absolutely recommend it if you have military conflict Vietnam, or if you want a sequel to Day of Defeat, proper follow-up. I've heard Day of Infamy is also good in that regard, but I haven't played it, so I can't really definitively say one way or the other. Though it is on my radar now because of it. The mod's on Steam Workshop. It's a simple download, and there are a couple required items that I'd suggest downloading alongside it, because they fix some issues with the reticle for the ZF-39 sniper scope. And then outside of that, just start at Military Conflict Vietnam, mount it in the add-ons section for the workshop, and restart the game and you're good to go. You'll know it's installed when the menu music and the background movie are different. Just nothing beats the Day of Defeat source theme. And my shout out to the creators of the World War II mod for Military Conflict Vietnam. Looking forward to what else is done with the mod, and also what's going to happen with the official Day of Victory mod for the game. Thank you all for watching. Take care.